Hey, John.
How you doing, Mark?
Hello, hello.
How you doing, Juan?
All good.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting us.
Pre- Absolutely my pleasure to have you guys on. And I figured if we were going to talk about collaboration for better customer experiences and retention in the fitness industry, there's no better people than you guys. And also, there's no better way of showing that we practice what we preach than us all talking together about how people can develop better experiences through collaboration. So before we get into some conversations, would you guys like to introduce yourselves and tell people a little bit about what you do? If you'd
Yeah,
like to
sure.
kick
So,
off one.
So, all right, I'll start. One cuesta here. As you can tell by my accent, from a Spanish-speaking country, from Venezuela, living in Spain. I work in the fitness CX. Recently created company. My goal is just to share my knowledge in terms of technology and consulting to support building amazing and awesome customer experiences in at the commercial fitness industry. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, and Mark.
yeah, hi, John. I'm Mark Jones. I'm head of customer experience at Fittronics. Fittronics runs a couple of businesses, TRP, the retention people, and Course Pro for swim and gymnastics management. I guess my experience being in the fitness leisure industry for 30 years or so, being an operator, managed in private sector, public sector, moved over to the supplier side with fitness equipment, worked with Juan at Life Fitness, and then now been at Fittronics for the last 3 years. I guess I'm really passionate around member retention, always have been, focused around helping customers get results and customer behaviors, behavioral change, etc. So that's what fascinates me, gets me out of bed in the morning.
I'm glad that we're not the only people who are obsessed with customer retention and behavior. Otherwise, it'd be pretty sad living for us, wouldn't it? So, uh, we did discuss a few topics last week that we wanted to cover that we felt would be really relevant and allow people to kind of take some ideas away. And the first one was really around collaborations within our staff and collaborations around programming. So I think as people who've worked on both sides of the tracks as suppliers and operators, we've all experienced a lot of this. And let's talk about some ways we can encourage better collaboration with our staff and our programming. I don't know who would like to kick that one off. Maybe Juan would like to go first on that one.
Yeah, yeah. That's I think that's the topic, right? When we talk about
It is.
creating experiences from members or customers, I would say if we want to be customer centric or member centric in terms of the fitness operator side of things, we need to first understand who is the customer, right? Who is the member, or what kind of memberships or what kind of audience we have. That's the only way we can create then meaningful experiences, and the only way, or I would say the best way to do this is towards or using collaborative approach, meaning everyone in the fitness organization, from trainers, from club managers, from management, and so on and so forth. Everyone needs to understand who the customers is, and what is the desired experience, and that's where collaboration comes into place. There are many ideas around how to put the heads together and create like what is our member journey, or what is our desired member journey, how we can in a workshopy way going getting our heads around that. And that's where collaboration is so important. Every time we talk with customers, we see some disconnection between, I don't know, front desk or gym floor or marketing or communication or even programming. And that's, if we want to create like consistency in the service, we all need to be aligned. And that's why collaborative approach is so important. That will be my take on that one.
that sort of community approach within your staff, so that they're constantly sharing feedback from each other's departments, and so they're aware of what the goals of each department is, so they can all join together on the same mission. Is that what you're saying,
Right.
Juan?
Right. Absolutely. And everyone. So I once heard about the idea of the holy grail of customer experience is that everyone understand that even if there is a customer facing or on the back office, everyone impacts on the experience. So even if it's someone creating the database to download the app or to send a message through the CRM or at the front desk, everyone has a small piece on the journey, and everyone needs to understand who is doing what. So that's the collaborative approach when approaching experiences with members.
Exactly. Every time the customer experiences a touch point with the business or the brand, then their level of sentiment can go up or it can go down, can't it?
Right.
It's all about, if everyone understands what the brand mission is, then they know any decisions they're making are going to be made in the right way, so as they're not impacting on other departments. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I see it, I guess. Every time when you go to a gym, for example, and you get like a super nice welcome or super nice sign up process, and then when you go to the gym floor, it's the experience like maybe there is nothing too engaging, and then you start thinking, okay, this is not level up, and that's how everyone needs to be on the same boat, right?
Yeah, I agree. Would you add anything to that, Mark?
Yeah, I guess, if you're looking to design a customer journey or customer experience, then you're designing it for a reason. You're designing it because you want a different result, because you're not happy with the result that you're currently getting. And in order to get a different result, you have to do things differently, which requires collaboration both internally and externally, because externally can bring in new bright ideas and trends and ideas. And internally, it's about how those team of people work on delivering the end result, I guess. So if you take something like marketing, so marketing will promote the experience, but then you have to deliver that experience. So someone is excited to come to your facility because of the marketing, and that's what they expect. And then they turn up and it's different. That's not what I saw in the photograph. Right. So getting that connection between every department, really, whether or not that's marketing and the front house teams, the sales teams, the fitness teams, so that everybody knows what part they play in that journey.
Yeah. So everyone's aware of what all the departments are trying to do. I know a couple of club chains I've worked at as CMO, we encouraged every single department to put on a board visible to every other department on what their goals were for the day, for the week, for the month, so that people weren't walking past thinking, oh, I don't, marketing is responsible for everything. We do everything. And they might walk past finance and realize, oh, I didn't actually realize finance were doing this and this and this. And do you know what? They've got the same mission as me. Have you seen any good ideas for sharing best practices and creating that collaboration within departments, within club operations?
Yeah, I met a customer once from Greece. They had this way of sharing everything they find out from customers. For example, if someone a physiotherapist is doing something with a member, and during the conversation they talk about a favorite beer or whatever, they share all that information around the club, so that this person, when they go to the restaurant, they will see on this database and say, oh, this is the guy that we mentioned, they like this kind of beer, so why not do this wow moment and have this beer prepared if they come. And that's the common knowledge, right? That's how the information circulates around. But to Mark's point, is if you create that kind of environment of collaborating and just sharing information about members, is because you have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
So your brand mission is, okay, we want to wow customers in this way or that way, and that's how you kind of leverage everything behind. So you have your this is the experience we want to deliver, and then just circle back in technology and how to do it. Just collaboratively sharing info. That's
yeah, it's nice to see if you can create situations where your departments can all mix together, get to know each other. I know in a 6-month project I did with Orange Theory in the UK, I was absolutely amazed and impressed at how many social functions were encouraged amongst the staff, but in a good collaborative way, so that the gym, the coaches were aware of what was going on with the front desk, who were aware of what was going on with the management team, and it made that flow of information so much easier when the front desk was passing a prospect through to the coach to show them around the gym floor. It just made it so much more natural. So I would encourage people to do those sort of socializing events as much as they can, create memories not just with your guests in the club, but with the staff as well. I know you've worked with a few operators, Mark. Have you ever seen any great examples of how to encourage that cross-department collaboration?
Yeah, well, I visited an Orange Theory, so you mentioned that yourself,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, that is a great journey from the moment before you step into the club. The way they use the front of house, the way the guest experience, the class, the instructor, the environment, but also the tech that goes with it and how it connects after you leave as well.
Yeah.
The community leaderboards, etc. They've really thought through the tech piece, the people piece, the environment piece, etc. I think that's really good. They are, as Juan was talking about brands, there's a really exciting brand in the UK at the moment, which I follow a lot, which is Third Space, and we worked with them and the team there, both at Live Fitness but also at Fittronics, and they from the top down are very connected and involved, from everybody from Colin to John to Rob, right down to the front of house team. Everybody's really involved in that whole business. It feels like a community, but they also go outside of the business to research, to find trends, to find out the next thing. They're forward leaders in that way. They change. They don't copy anybody else. Very strong brand, but also everybody knows their place. Everyone knows what's important. They're providing an experience and charging a lot of money for it, aren't they? So their customers expect very good standards. But that's tied really into the senior team as well. So if something does go wrong, an email goes straight to the MD straight away. They're aware of a detractor. They're aware of how, and then everybody's on the case to try and make sure that they resolve that problem and try and turn that situation from a negative into a positive.
Yes. I think there's two huge points there. And I know you and I, Antoine, we often discuss the importance of attending events outside of the health and fitness and wellness industry, and how you often come away with so many knowledge bombs just from how other industries are working in terms of improving customer experience. And then also the importance of that voice of the customer. And I'd be interested in your experience, because obviously we all know the importance of your advocates, your detractors, and the passives and that side of things. And what I've often found is you start working with boardrooms on the voice of the customer, and you're getting that objective feedback suddenly sitting at the table in the boardroom. And it's suddenly moving from that subjective culture of we know what we're doing, we know what the customers are talking about, to encouraging the board members to look at what the members are actually saying is important to them. It's a massive shift in culture. Have you had many recent experiences of things like that?
Yeah, there's. I've seen some examples around this one. There is this solution that captures the voice of the customer, and not only with direct surveys and in the gym floor and stuff like that, but also what people are saying on social networks. So they do this analysis and all that. And we have seen customers saying, no, we know where we are, or we know what they're saying about us. And then when they present the results, they say, oh, okay, we need to do something then. And the approach of these solutions is more into, when you have a complaint, you have an opportunity kind of. So someone is saying something ugly, it's an opportunity just to go there and knock the door. And I did some consulting with an anytime fitness franchisee here in Spain, and this guy was so clever in a way that he's more with happy and not working. also make like a power, you know, about it, but to you, we're going to start building a better experience. So how are we doing right now? So could you please give us a little more details instead of, okay, we messed up with the cleaning. I heard you. We're going to clean it up. It's more like, okay, come here. Let's sit down together and let's see how we can fix this together. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. And the approach changes. And that's an opportunity also to talk about, talk with members in a different way, which I don't think is quite common in the industry, at least what I have seen in Spain. But yeah, I kind of like that approach of a complaint is an opportunity kind of way of seeing it, and that's also part of the brand, right? And the messaging of the brand promise.
Yeah, I strongly agree with that. Have you got any examples you've seen recently, Mark?
I guess one of the things that came to mind was almost a negative reaction to feedback, where you get in that feedback from your customers and it's going to the board, and the board are looking at it and they don't like it. And ultimately it is customer feedback, and it is their perception of your business and your brand. And it's what's important to them. You know, if you fill out something and complete something, then you care about it. And I think sometimes that can get lost. There's other priorities within the business, but without customers, you don't have a business. So I think that's some of the challenges. That, do you want to hear what your customers say? Do you want to hear it? Do you want to listen to it? And do you want to do anything about it?
Yeah.
It can quite easily be dismissed, I think, sometimes as, oh yeah, we know those customers, we know that site, we know that club. Yeah, we don't have to, that club's doing okay, we can just ignore them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and yeah, and also if I heard from a retail consultant once, he was saying something like, if you're gonna put some effort in asking, and if you are gonna ask how you feel, it's because you're gonna do something about it. Because we tend to do a lot of surveys. So yeah, this is the sentiment, or this is how we are being perceived, and that's it. Yeah, let's do some marketing here and there. But the truth, the change comes when, okay, we found out this. Now let's sit down and put a strategy around it. Otherwise, it's just asking questions, right? So that's how you make change.
Yes, exactly. So if you're going to set out with this strategy of more collaboration, then you must have a plan on how you're going to take action afterwards, haven't you? And all departments have got to be agreed that we're going to be taking action afterwards. So it's really, really good points there. If you're going to create a touch point and you're going to therefore offer the opportunity for sentiment towards your brand to go up or down, you've got to be prepared to take action.
Absolutely. And this is where technology comes into place. I was watching yesterday a webinar about AI tools for the voice of the customer, and then they were talking about Qualtrics and Medallia and all these guys, and they are about to launch something around the lines of just changing the way doing surveys. And this survey is more like a chat. So you have a bot that it asks you some questions, and you reply with a voice note, and they use AI just to analyze the voice and so on. And I was thinking in the fitness industry, how impactful can that be, right? So you have like a voice note about something that went wrong or something like that, and the AI just takes that into the cocktail, and then these are the recommended actions. That's amazing. But then again, you need to, okay, let's sit down and what is our brand promise, and how are we going to impact our members, and then we implement the AI thing, right? So that's why it's so important now that with more and more technology in place, okay, let's sit down a little bit, because now I don't know which version of ChatGPT we are on right now, or Claude or Gemini and all that. There are thousands of them. So okay, let's sit down. How we're gonna be different, and let's just use technology, right? That's really interesting times right now.
Yes, yeah, we are getting close to segueing into talking about technology now. But before we do that, I mean, are there any other points you'd like to raise about collaboration and teamwork with your staff and different departments? I know I worked with a club in San Diego, bit of a Barry style boutique experience, and anybody who'd met the member on their journey to joining from any department was encouraged to join the workout when that member was doing their first workout. So you have familiar faces around them. Ideally, the person who'd be involved in actually signing them up, but sometimes it was the person who'd been on the front desk when they arrived. It might, it might have been from someone from any department that just managed to see them. It's, we're talking boutique environment here, and you had over 50% better retention rates from people who did their first workouts with the staff, and then they moved it on to, there's often members around, and in a good community, you can say to the, hey Mark, you've been working out here for 12 months, would you recommend us to Joan? And Mark's going to say, of course I would. And you might, if they're getting on, we were buddying up members with new members. And again, the impact on taking away that fear of training for the first time. It's okay, I've got you. I've been through this before. I know what it feels like. The impacts on attendance, and then obviously, as we all know, retention were huge. Have you seen anything like along those lines working recently for you?
I think from my perspective, there's the question that comes into play there is around staffing. I think over the last 5-6 years, there's been a reduction in the amount of staffing to provide these levels of service. I think the boutique sector obviously has the emphasis on staffing. We work with a number of customers in the local authority trust sector that very much are still using staff and investing in that service as a differentiator to their competitors. They're competing with the budget sector, older buildings. So the only way they can differentiate their service is through their people. And it's one of the best ways to do that. So we work with Hertfordshire Sports Village. They're fantastic there with how they've joined things up with the whole journey, how they think about things. We've also worked with Carmarthenshire, local council in Wales. They're so invested in retention and the touch points that they make. Local to me, there's Castle Point Council. They do quite a lot with their staff. But also it's from when you walk through the centre, you feel it. You feel it from front of house. Front of house understands what MPS is. The fitness instructors understand the importance of identifying customers who are at risk and being able to hold their hand when they come in, or a new member or somebody who's on a guest pass, then how do you hold their hand through that journey? So there's a number of good examples there, I think, where but the key part of that is down to having the people to be able to do that.
It's there. Ultimately, there is no great customer experience if there is no great employee experience, right? Is the same side of the same coin. And I was reading this report. They were talking about I think it was for each one extra point on the employee NPS, you get 5 points in the member NPS. So the more engaged the staff is, the better the customer experience. And that's as to Mark's point, it is about people. And I'm coming back to your initial example. We have there is this boutique, boxing boutique in in Spain, and they had these processes and procedures where they detect if there's someone is new, and they have this training for when people join the space. They know how to remember their names. So if you have a group of 20 people, they know how to remember all the names. So if you mix that and you know who's new, then you can start with a warm-up session, putting someone who's new with someone who has been for a while. So that's how you break that. And that's great because everything is on paper. Everything is on a procedure. So that's how you kind of break down that intimidation, like how make everything works in terms of friendliness. But again, you need people, right? And you need people engaged, and you need people rowing into the same goal, which is delighting members, right? Otherwise, it's not you make a point.
Yeah, that's an amazing stat. So 1 point in eMPS is equal to 5 points increase for your member MPS. That's absolutely crazy, isn't it?
I'll share that document afterwards.
That's very kind, thank you. So it's all about creating the right environment, isn't it, to empower your staff to be together, understand your brand promise, and work towards the brand promise. And we've all worked with a lot of tools and technology over the years, I'm just going to ask you, I mean, how do you go about leveraging the technology to enable your staff? Because there's always a lot of technology and choices out there. And I think, Juan, you touched on it there, that there's technology there, but not all operators will take the time to train their staff and make sure the technology is rolled out properly. Perhaps, Marc, you're best positioned to give us some insights how to take the staff with you when you're doing some technological changes to encourage better collaboration and customer experiences. If you'd like to kick that off, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think Juan touched on AI earlier on, and I guess one of the things that everyone sort of focuses on is around the shiny new thing, and people will buy this, and then they'll buy that, and then they'll buy that, and is it just the new thing? How does that tie into your end goal? How is everyone bought into that? There was a question that just popped up on the chat here about getting your senior team involved in if the feedback is really bad, then what do you do about your senior team? It comes back to selecting technology, or whatever you do, it's involving those people early doors. The senior team need to be involved in that. What's the outcome of that? Do you realize you'll get this and you'll get that? There'll be positives, there'll be negatives, there'll be effort, there'll be change, there'll be uncomfortableness, there'll be fun, and there'll be better results, hopefully, as a result of it. But involving your teams are going to be using it in choosing what you do, and seeing how it will help them. One of the things that I did when I was an operator was start with the frontline teams, and I interviewed everybody in our business who was working in fitness across all of our sites, and asked them what motivated them, what got them out of bed in the morning. And what got them out of bed in the morning was helping people get results. So how do we tap in that piece of technology or that change in process to help them do their job, to help them get results? So that if they can see that this helps me to get results, this helps me to measure how well I'm doing, helps me to be able to understand how I contribute each day, and I should be able to spring out of bed every morning because I'm connected into that.
Yes, yeah, very interesting. I was at an out of industry event recently for a customer experience. A lot of retail, leisure, that side of people were there, and there was the big bus company were there, and their customer support team had an AI bot installed, and on purpose, after a week, they turned off the AI assistant bot at the help center. And all the people who'd been moaning and not understanding how it had been helping with their job suddenly were like, please, can you turn on the AI assistant again? And it's quite a dramatic way of showing how these things could happen. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to an organization, but it just shows that you really need to understand what your the goals of your staff are, and how they want to deliver what they're doing day in, day out. Have you seen anything that's memorable recently, Juan?
Yeah. So coming back to the first question, is the tricky part is in the when implementing any sort of technology. It could be a CRM, ERP, it could be any gamification on the gym floor, whatever it is. It needs to be top down, right? Everyone needs to be on board in. We are doing this because we want to achieve this. And in terms of engaging with people, it needs to be, in the staff, everyone needs to understand how it's going to be impacting in their work. As Marc mentioned, is make your life easier, being more streamlined in processes, but also has to be linked to a business metric, right? So this is going to help us in retention. This is going to help us in attracting more new members, or helping them to achieve their goals, and so on and so forth. So it's a mix of things, but when deciding any sort of technology, of course, we need to have, this is what we want to achieve first, and then we have a lot of great tools that you need to understand first. Otherwise, you're going to go to the newest thing, the shiny one, and so on, and that causes frustration. But but in any case, when developing all and creating all these member journeys and just putting everyone on the same goal, everyone needs to be involved in testing it and trying it out and understanding how it works, and this tool needs to be flexible enough just to adapt. But otherwise, it's going to be just frustration. Oh, I used to use this, and now I used to use that. That's just the same. This is not going to help, right? So, yeah. I'll guess. I think more and more, it's not an option. Not using technology. Some sort of technology is going to be in place, and I guess staff is going to be more willing to learn new things. Or my hope is staff we want to learn new things, because our members or their customers, which is members, they already did technology decisions. They already have an app. They already have a wearable. They're using the ring, or they know about sleeping and patterns. They know about everything already. So clubs now have the challenge of matching those technology or digital expectations with programming, with marketing, with so on and so forth. So everyone needs to be involved in that, and that's the only way staff will make the technology their own. Okay, I have this at my workplace with this gym. How I can get the most of this just to make my work even more fun or engaged, right? So long answer that one, that might suck.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is, again, it kind of goes back to managing the whole, setting out the expectations of the whole project with all the stakeholders at the start, and that includes going through to measuring how we're going to say whether this is a success or failure, and then maybe with my marketing head on, that kind of start small but think big, be prepared to test and learn and then roll out, rather than, and I know I've been guilty of this in the past. You see the shiny new, again, when you see the shiny new product and you think, I have that, and suddenly you're distracted from the project that you've actually got going on. So maybe you should do that. And then again, the second thing I got from it was you were talking about your staff and their expectations, and I felt like you were going down the road of the importance of developing your staff and how important that is for their whole well-being and bringing them along on the journey with you. I think I'm pleased that we seem to be moving as an industry from well-being of the staff being a HR issue. It seems to be a whole business issue these days, and that's really nice to see happening in our industry. And maybe it's something we are an industry that's leading the way on, I feel. So would you say that's a fair summary of what you were saying there, Juan?
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting because when visiting customers and talking to people in the industry, some of them have, or they express they have some challenges in terms of retention, for example, and they would like to do this and they would like to do that. And they already have a solution in place. They already have any fitness solutions or any ERP. By the way, did you know you can do that with what you have right now? You say, what, really? And this is, again, this is a collaborative effort from suppliers, from digital solutions, from manufacturers, from consultants, from everyone, right? So that's there, right? It's the staff and the organization needs to understand what they're doing in terms of creating a technology or digital mindsets around service. So
and from my perspective, and being on the supplier side for a number of years now, when you're trying to work with a buyer, sometimes the buyer is isolated, so there's just one person that you're dealing with, and they very much want to make the decision. They want to go back to their business and say, look what I've done, and look how I can bring this into and how it can help us. But as a supplier, you're not really connected to the other people that are involved in that. And I really think it's important that lots of people are involved. The best people that I've worked with in my last role was where you had a group of people that came to a gym and tried all the equipment out and played on it, and we had some sessions and some conversations around what they like and what they don't like, and they're involved and empowered as part of that decision. I think sometimes there's different barriers between supplier and buyer, especially when you have finance teams and different procurement teams, etc. They're part of the whole overall process. And how do you connect all of that together so that you ultimately the best thing is right that the buyer gets the best result and it helps them to improve. It helps them to change. It helps them to get better results. And the more people you involve in that, the better chance of success that you have. Because otherwise, we could give you a solution. One person buys it. They've got to persuade another 20 people to get on a journey with them. But we could be part of that journey fairly early on. And sometimes the barriers can be up. And I don't understand why that is. You know, collaboration should be between your end customer, the operator, and the supplier. We're all trying to do the same thing, aren't we? We're all trying to be successful and help people to become more active in our sector predominantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point. I remember, in my previous role as well, we stumbled upon this customer. They have a chain like 7 or 8 clubs in Iberia, and they wanted to just change their cycling studios. And what they did, their approach was, okay, let's involve our heavy users, making members. Let's involve our trainers, the supply team, procurement, and so on, and let's just test everything that is in the market, and let's just calibrate and evaluate which is the best solution for our clubs. Just changing the new thing, and the great side of that was they make all members aware that members were deciding in the buying, which at the end it could be some sort of marketing, but it was really good to see that everyone participated in that decision, and that was a really nice outcome from them. So it was a really nice idea.
Yeah, it's so important. I think that was a great point, Mark, and thank you for making it. It's like we always talk about, you know, there's so many organizations where they're conversations with people. They're not conversations, they're monologue. They're just talking at people, and we're trying to encourage that dialogue. And ultimately what you're talking about there, Mark, is that you can get to the intimacy where everyone's joining in, everyone's got that environment where they feel like they can express their opinions without being called stupid or without anybody saying, oh, that why you think that's you know, without being called out, being part of the process. Then you take everybody along with you, don't you? So it's so important for that collaboration side of things. I think it was New York. There was an athletic club there, and they had a member panel. They'd meet each month, and it was particularly around group exercise and programming. And we all know how important that is to creating communities and retention. And the members were actually, through feedback, they were creating programming and group classes based on feedback from members. I know we're seeing a lot of thirst now for more holistic programming. I'm seeing a lot of Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates, that side of movement coming through. And some organizations have moved and adapted to that a lot quicker than other organizations. And we know the ones that have adapted quicker are the ones who are looking outside of their walls, getting the feedback. And like you've both said, have an environment where they're not only looking for feedback, but they're part of their programming is to take action about feedback. So I'm conscious of the time, and I know you're both very busy people. My final zinger for you is if you've got one takeaway for people on how they're going to start the fire within their organization for better retention practices, and I mean start the fire within it rather than start a fire underneath it. What would you recommend?
So I'll say, so if you want to improve your customer experience, just sit down with your team and talk about, try to find out and in a very granular way who is your customer, who is your current audience. Maybe you can. This is, by the way, this is an ongoing process. This is not like you don't know your customers; you know them already. But sit down with all your team, involve as many people as possible, and then do this exercise like buyer persona, archetypes, and all these tools are amazing just to understand better. Moving away from demographics, go to behaviors, go to what they will love to see, why they don't like, and so on and so forth. Think about how they move around your clubs, and then first everyone will be aligned toward your customers. And second, you will find fine-tuning things that are, or even opportunities you didn't know you have in place. That will be my advice. Just sit down together with your team, involve them, and in understanding your customers, which is different than knowing your customers. Just understand them and try to use any of these methodologies like customer journey mapping or service blueprint, just to understand where you are, and iterate. This is an ongoing process, and try to test new things, small baby steps, cheap if possible, if possible as well, and just iterate on that. And that will get you alignment, and that's how you start your steps into improving your member experience. That will be my advice, especially now with all the technology around. So
yeah, maybe start with one customer journey, one customer,
for example,
one customer journey, and then look at the impact it makes on just that one journey. And then once you've tested that, you can move on to doing all your customer journeys and personas. Great advice, Juan. Thank you. And Mark?
Yeah, I guess following on from that, once you've done that sort of exercise, I think it's about a joined up approach, and whether or not you're looking at don't get attracted by those shiny new things. stick to the strategy, stick to what you're trying to achieve, and look at what you can do. You know, I go into many facilities and I see they have our software, they have TRP in their sites, they have MyZone, they have wellness, and they're all there in silos. They're not connected, it's not overlapped. But then also how you join up the people within your business. You know, Juan talked about the internal service and how it has an amplification on the external service. So how do you connect that through, right? I went for a coffee this morning, right? And the coffee's been takeaway for the last 2 weeks. And the reason it's takeaway is because it's 35 degrees in there, because the air conditioning unit has been out of order for the last month. The staff in there are trying their best, right? There's a brand promise for that coffee store, but they're not delivering on it. There's no joined up approach from HQ and head office down to the team that are sweating at the till.
Yeah. I know this coffee's been a recurring theme in our chats. This is obviously impacting on your sentiment towards this coffee bar, Mark.
It's the caffeine.
Yeah.
But it does show, doesn't it? I mean, there's the importance of, like, I mean, as a senior team, I think going back to the question earlier about, you know, how do you convince the directors and the board about going forwards with you? You know, we all know there's brands that have lots of shiny promises on their websites and what their values are, but if their virtues, as in how they act, don't match with what they say their values and their brand promises, today's guests can smell it a mile off. They don't just have to walk into a 35-degree coffee room, do they? So it's such a good point. I mean, and it goes back to that, like Juan was saying, having your clear strategy about what you want to do. But, you know, I mean, like all the great generals, you know, what's your plan for after the war? What's going to happen when the war finishes? Okay, it's not just about fighting the battles, is it? What happens when the battles finish? That's what's important, to take in not only the board with you, but your staff and the silos, and joining them all up together. So 100%. I know that was one question posted. If anyone has got any questions, if you'd like to fire them to Juan or Mark whilst we've still got them on, please pop them in the chat or the Q&A. And whilst we're looking to see if there's any questions, is there anything else that you guys would add? I just want to add thank you very much for your time. Always enjoyable speaking to you, and I have learned loads.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, John. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us. Great conversation. I feel like can stay like 1 extra hour just talking about examples about how to improve the experience in fitness. Yeah.
Well, be careful. We might keep you on, but maybe we should take that as an opportunity to put collaboration part 2 into the diary for the retention revolution later in there. So I can't see any more questions, so I'll thank you and thank everyone for attending, and look forward to meeting again.
Thanks, everyone.
Good stuff. Thank you.